Mission received.
Okay, right. Welcome. So, a couple things different with this stream. So first of all, we've got this new UI. So we've got the shield and the armor a little bit bigger now. This is a mod that a friend was able to help me with. So hopefully this is a bit clearer now. Got some of the text a little bit bigger, um, and also the toolbars at the top a little bit bigger, which is nice. And then also, I've managed to get this timer in, so we're going to use this now, which should hopefully be a little bit, well, it's going to be better to track, and also it's just going to be just a nicer way of tracking each of the rounds. So yeah, we're going to do this. I guess, so I've kept the cursor in the middle smaller though, that's just for me, just so I could help, just so it wasn't that big on the screen actually. So let's start that now. And then also you'll see once I start firing, I've got some new guns. So Soli actually helped me out. He lent me some of his guns, and basically just wanted a change. I quite like the guns I was using before, but really I'd like to probably change to the Borstal graphics. So you'll see what I mean. There's a couple of orange lasers I've now got. This UI is going to take a while to get used to. But yeah, different sound, different look. They still fit in my X-Wing, so yeah, all good with me. Let's do it. This is going to be interesting for sure because there's a lot of things different. Is it going to throw me off? We'll see. Also, the time is nice because that should be nice to start keeping track of like how quick I'm doing these things. I mean, I don't typically try to complete a high tier duty with the aim of doing it as fast as possible. It really depends. Like, you know, it's nice to go after the gunboats, get some good loot, yada yada yada. But actually, with this run in particular, I am going to try and complete it for speed. Okay, cool, that worked. So I started the first split as soon as I came into castle, and I was, sort of moving towards the next waypoint. So that's how we're going to do it. And then once the split ends, you're then moving towards the next waypoint, so it keeps it consistent. So Soli's guns they were very similar to mine. They had, I think, just slightly more mass and drain overall, but they still run, they still fit. They have the same damage, which was just bog standard R-Read Borstal damage, same as my other ones, and then they have actually two of them have got slightly slower refires, but if you ever hear me talk about refires, like, it doesn't make a difference at all. You can barely tell a difference. The one thing that just does frustrate me with guns sometimes is refires that don't match, but again, it's like no big deal at all. So round one, obviously if anyone's watched this before, then you know exactly what this is going to be like, but yeah, any duty mission in this game, you start off with each waypoint has like one fighter, then two fighters, then three fighters, and then you have a boss, and then once you've gone through that cycle, then it starts again. And when it starts again, you start with two, and then three, and then four, and then that sort of repeats itself. So whilst it's fairly relaxed to begin with, it gets progressively harder. And so for anyone that doesn't know what duty I'm doing here, this is the high tier duty. This is the one you get from Dathomir space station, and then you go to Kessel to complete this. And it is probably, I think it is, like, renowned. It's known as the hardest duty, because you're fighting like tier 6s, tier 7s, tier 8s. But it has like the highest token payout of any duty mission in the game. I could have IFF'd that really. I probably should have if I was going for time. But I think we're okay. So even though I was fairly confident that I was going to get his guns there, I still chaffed. Because like it could have landed 2 shots on me and then missiled me on the same side, and that could have just been bad news right from the get-go. So yeah, I always have this rule with this duty that you shouldn't really try and chaff until you get to round 4. But sometimes there are exceptions, and I think that was one exception then. Oh, I've gone and flew to the wrong waypoint. So to begin with, like, I'm not going to be that fussed on disabling fighters. Like, it depends. If it gets hairy, then yes, I will. But kind of similar to the chaff rule, I don't typically start disabling fighters until round 4, maybe end of round 3. In terms of like which to go after, like different people have different preferences on this. I hear lots of people say go after the KSCs first because they have the hardest hitting missiles. Like, whilst I agree, I don't like go out of my way to get them first. I find these guys right here, the 6 or the Sykes, these fighters are the most annoying. They're zippy, they can fly around, and also they're just a pain in the arse to actually kill. I did not expect him to missile then. So typically what I did there is bad. Like, if you're looking to really try and complete this like most efficiently and the best way possible, you shouldn't do that. Really, you've got to be hit. You've got to commit to which side you're going to hit the fighters from. So, like, typically my strategy is to hit them from behind. I know someone who actually just constantly jousts, like does mini jousts on the fighters, and so I'd imagine he hits them from the front. But like, don't just take pot shots from one side if you plan to actually kill them from the other side, because then you're just wasting. You know, you're wasting capacity, you're wasting shots, and you know, if you keep doing that, it's going to add up. I did split. Yeah, I did. This can sometimes happen, like when they spawn in, they get distracted by what's around them. But this happens like for 5 seconds, and then they remember, oh, they actually just want to kill you. So they always come back around. Now here, like, I'm quite low on shields, I'm quite low on cap, so I'm just gonna chill out. This might even be a point where I disable the fighter, just so I can stop it from zipping around. But really, I'm just looking to recharge my stuff. No point rushing into the next wave if, you know, you're not ready for it. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of these different guns. Obviously there's like a mix, but I'd ideally like a full set of the orange ones. Let me show you. Like those. I'd like a full set of those ideally, but it's not what I have. And for anyone that is wondering about my setup, I use the joystick. I'll try and lift it up here. Right, this is what I use. It's a X52 Logitech. But there's a couple of good models. Like I would always recommend a joystick to anyone that's not used one before. I think they're brilliant. I think it changes your entire game experience when you go from mouse and keyboard to a joystick. However, I don't think I'd actually recommend this particular model. I've had issues with X52s. This is like my third, I think. And I've heard of similar issues from other people as well. So, yeah, whilst I still love it, I use it, I would caveat it that for me, they are prone to wear and tear, I think, and they're just not built in the best way possible. That being said, some of the models that I'm aware of are, if you like Logitech, then I think it's the X30 Pro. It's a very cheap and like best probably value for money joystick you can get at all. Like, I think it's only about £30, I would say. 30, you know, in British sterling. might be more expensive nowadays, who knows, but at least when I owned one, that's how much it was. But then also you could also get some Thrustmaster models, which are very good. I think they do a similar one to the X30, which is quite reasonably priced, but then they have more expensive models as well. The one thing I'd just be mindful of is Star Wars Galaxies is an old game, and it wasn't traditionally made and designed with dual USB joysticks in mind. So like, just double check which, you know, what design your joystick is that you're looking to get. If it's 2 USB, then you're going to have a little bit more trouble getting it to work. I believe there is a way of getting it to work. There's a couple of guides on Discord that are available. I've always just stuck to 1 USB just to save myself that little bit of trouble, but I believe it is possible. I just double check beforehand if you're going down that route. Okay, so this guy's going to be on to me fairly quickly. Again, I just chaffed there. I think that was an exception to do so. Like YT, the boss, yeah, the YT-1300 is like the most feared thing, in my opinion, on this duty. So, like, if you have to spend 1 chaff per YT, then take it, honestly. Yeah, I'm fine. But, like, I'm not gonna chaff that. So, one of the biggest things, right, I said it earlier, that can really help if you're struggling with this duty is to just learn when and when not to chaff. Like, that was an example there where, like, I had full shields, I could easily take a missile. There was no point me wasting chaff there. So, like, know your limits and get used to just looking at your shield and thinking, can I tank this? Can I not? Because you need that chaff in the later rounds, like, for sure. I'm not gonna chaff that. Fine. drains so high. So no good loot yet, but you know, we get the tokens, which is a really good reason why we do this duty. Bit disappointed he didn't die. Slow down a little bit here. Because of my cap. Oh my god, my aim is atrocious. So, if you're watching this, I'd hope that you're aware of things like droid commands. So, in space, there's a way to basically buff yourself. You can give yourself space buffs, and the way you do that is through droid commands. So, you wouldn't have seen me, but before I started recording, I would have actually just buffed myself. I would have ran my droid commands. Maybe I can show you. So in my R2 or R5 unit, you have all of these here. So these are the different buffs that you can have. The main ones that like everyone should look to run on their ship, regardless of what you're doing at all times, is Reactor Overload 4, Weapon Capacitor Overcharge 4, Weapon Overload 4, and Engine Overload 4. Like these four are like standard on any loadout. You've got to have these, and you've got to be able to run them. The big thing about space buffs is that they put stress on your reactor. So actually, when you're first putting a ship together, you have to manage two things. You have to manage mass and reactor, right? So you have to make sure that you don't go over on mass and you don't go over on reactor. And that's like, okay, fine. When you start using space buffs, you actually have to give you have to give yourself a larger you have to basically cut down on your reactor drain even more than what the ship window tells you. So say for example, like, so my reactor currently right now has around about 22, I want to say 22 or 23,000 energy in total. But like, my drains in when all added up do not come anywhere near that. You know, they probably go to like 10,000 or something like that. I'm just grabbing numbers off the top of my head here because I don't really know, but you have to leave room for the buffs essentially. because what the buffs do is they multiply the stress of your components on your reactor. So like, you know, you might have like, your guns might add up to, let's say 5,000 drain total, but actually when you use a weapon overload, that drain gets multiplied. So what might have been 5,000 drain turns into 20,000 drain. So basically there's a whole new reactor management that comes with buffs. But anyway, essentially it's with some proper gearing and with some, you know, consideration of that into your build, it's always doable. You know, there's always a way of getting it to work. So yeah, either you reduce the drains on your components, or you put in a bigger reactor. Those are basically the two solutions. But yeah, everybody should run space buffs. If you're familiar with space buffs, as in Droid commands, then great. You may notice when I'm doing this, I'm constantly normalizing my shields. So for anyone that doesn't know, there are these commands you can use called shield reinforcement. So whenever I get hit, it essentially allows me to just spread the damage of my shields so that it becomes equal front and back. So like when I get hit again, I'll be able to show you what I mean. So I have damage to the front now. I've damage to the back right now, so I can normalize that. See, so I've just shifted all my front shield, or rather some of my front shield, to the back. I'd say like this is the #1 top droid command for a high tier duty. And I say that because there's another ability where you can shunt your cap to your shield, and like that is useful as well. That's a must-have. But what reinforcements allow me to do is they allow me to heal essentially parts of my shield damage without me spending any resource, any capacitor to do that. So they basically run instantly. You can use them one after the other. They're very fast to use, and they give me that flexibility to shift my shield around when I need to. So if you ever see that, see the droid appearing on the bottom right, saying, "Oh, I've shifted some shield," or whatever he says, then that's what's going on. So the other command that we should talk about then, the shunt, that's what I've just done then. So that basically takes your capacitor, which is your capacitor for firing your guns, and it takes that energy and puts it into shield. So combining those two, essentially that management of your capacitor and your shields, that's what's going to help you also like succeed in this and in space in general.
Warning, incoming hostiles.
So I'm going to shunt, I'm going to boost away. I've noticed these fuel lasers are just so fast. Even when we're boosting, they're like keeping with me, and when I don't boost, they're gaining on me. So we don't want to let them get too close, but yeah, I want to make sure my droid is ready to go again, my cap's fully charged, my shield's in a good position. We're going again. Okay, so I sort of did the same thing as what I did on the previous two YTs. I chaffed, which is fine. I got one of his guns, but then I also IFF'd. IFF is a great strategy on any YT. If you do one run and then just IFF, you can then get in this position here to just finish it off. Easy. I try not to become too reliant on IFF though. It's good if you actually get practice at that jousting. Get a sense for how much damage it can do, because let me tell you right now, this thing bloody hurts.
Target destroyed.
I tend to use IFF on, well, on all the YTs actually, but more so you need them. It's a really good strategy for the later YTs. Okay, round 4. So this is where typically I start disabling, but we'll just see how it goes. I've got 13 chaff left. I've only used 3, so that's fine. Check my loot. Not much in the way of loot. With the tokens, so at the moment I've got 2,000 tokens. What you'll find is you get 6,000 total, or roughly 6,000 from this duty mission. So I'm at round 4, and I've only got a third of the total tokens. So this just goes to show you like how much value is placed on those later rounds. And in particular, you get like a 1,500, I think, bonus from the very last boss. So like it's weighted in such a way that, like, you know, if you were to just do the first few rounds of high tier, you don't actually gain that much. It is worth being able to try and complete the full duty because the payout is much greater. And typically, even though we've got the timer on here, we'll be able to find out, typically I'd allow an hour to an hour and a half for a high tier duty. That's just me being an idiot. So, just waiting for my capacitor here, because I decided to spray and pray like a loser. So I've still got 4 guys to kill including this one, and yeah, hick on the missiles, so this is where I might be like, yeah, I'm gonna start disabling. So I had to shunt there. I also had to chaff twice, which not too happy with, but it's fine. As like a rule of thumb, I say you want to save 5 chaff, or like 5, 4, 3 for the very last YT. Like that's how precious I am about chaff. So right now I'm down to 11. Which leaves me with 6 from now until that YT, so yeah. The great thing about disabling as well is that you just save cap. I'm gonna shunt here. So what I'm doing, like the X-Wing is very nimble. Like you notice then I could just literally just fly around, like constantly fly into the fighters, and it makes them just fly past you and then start another route of attack. And by doing that, you don't get all of them chasing you. Like the worst thing you can do on well, just in space in general, but especially on this duty, is just fly in one direction. If you fly in one direction, then they're all just going to turn around and be right on top of you. So you either just want to keep constantly like dogfighting, or you want to do mini sort of jousts. You know, don't let them get too far behind you before you go at them again. So that was a really good situation where it looked like I barely had any shields, but I was just able just to dogfight a little bit, circle around, and slowly just pick off like the targets one by one. Yeah, don't be afraid just to go and disable everything. Honestly, if you're struggling with a high tier duty, but you haven't tried disabling the ships yet, then you should definitely do that. I'd say if you're starting out a high tier for the first time, always disable. Because what have you got to lose? Like you spend less cap, and you essentially take them out of the game. The only benefit you have by not disabling a fighter is that you get through the duty quicker. And as we just discussed then, the token payout is much better if you manage to complete the duty, and it's always worth slowing down, especially at this point. Like, what's the point of trying to rush the duty now when it's the most valuable part of the duty? So, like, if you're nervous, or you know you want to stay alive, just switch to disabling. Honestly, there's nothing bad about it at all. I think for me it depends. Like if I feel pressured, I would switch to disabling. Like right then, like I didn't feel pressured, so I'm just blasting these guys. But like I could feel pressured by shield damage, I could feel pressured by low capacitor, I could feel pressured by missiles, you know. I can feel pressured just by the sheer volume of fighters that I've got to get through versus my cap. Not chaffing though. No way. Not chaffing that either. I might be sounding a little bit mundane by telling you what I am and what I'm not chaffing, but I hope it helps you realise, like, when it's worth doing and when it's not. Then, even still, like, wasn't worried. I knew that the KSC was the last one alive. Yeah, it's good to have awareness of like how many targets are remaining. Like, you get better at it definitely through time and practice. Because that will help you feel more relaxed, you know, as opposed to always being under pressure. Me personally, I've already said this before, I hate the 6, so I typically just disable them. Right, so I'm going to chaff once. You saw then an example of what not to do. I went straight in one direction, chasing a fighter for no reason, and then I had them all on me. I'm not going to chaff that. I might shunt though. There's a bit of lag. I am going to shunt now. I'm struggling a little bit at the moment. I'm going to shunt again. There's only 2 fighters, so like it's not a big deal, but they actually seem to be on me. Right, that got a bit hairy. So we took some armor damage, no big deal. But it's yeah, it's important to just not panic. Like I had options there, right? My cap was full. My cap was full when I started getting that lag, and when I was, got that missile. So like a full cap really means you should be doing something with it, right? You should be either shooting at something or shunting, I think, in my opinion. So like that was an opportunity to shunt. I obviously then just flew around a little bit, tried to just shake them off me, go into dogfighting. If I ever thought that it was going to be a bit more hairy than that, then I always have IFF. Now, remember that, like in any situation you're in, if you have IFF available and you just want to chill out and just use it and just reassess, then do it. Like there is no harm or no shame in IFFing in a high tier duty, honestly. Like, just finish the bloody thing. Feels way worse to be on the the last round and then to go out to die and then think, oh shit, I actually could have just IFF'd. Obviously IFF should be like bottom of your list in terms of like your list of priorities if things get bad, because if you're relying on IFF like in every situation, then obviously like it's going to take you a while to complete the duty, and it's just not feasible. So this is round 3, so I haven't really talked about the difference in rounds. Round 3 is like the bulkier ships. You don't get any of the 6, which is great for me. They're just easy to shoot. Typically, I'd say they're the easiest out of all the rounds, but that being said, gotta watch out for these guys. Tier 3 Tier 8 Dune Lizards. They can be really nasty. And generally, because these are the bulkier ships, like, they get a bit missile happy. So you may end up spending more chaff on these guys than you do the other rounds. I'm just gonna shunt actually and just wait for my cap. sorry, I was saying round 3, I meant waypoint 3. Like the 3rd waypoint of every round, you get these bigger ships. As I said, missile happy. I'm not feeling any to chaff just yet. Like, right, I don't want to labour the point, but like, you know, you get 16 chaff max. But essentially, if you manage your shields in the best possible way, then that's a replenishable defense. Why would you use chaff ahead of, you know, letting your shield take the damage? So think of it like that. Like if you're a bit too chaff happy, think of it like that. Right, I am going to recharge before this. I haven't talked about strategy with the YT. I think I'll probably do that another time. Okay, they've been distracted by something, which is usually good for us. Very good. I think I'll have to do like a separate stream or a separate video on YT strategy. But like, in short, like IFF is your friend. I always joust in, go for the guns first, and then typically I do like one joust and then IFF. Recently, I've been getting away with doing more jousts before IFFing. Oh, and like, the YT can missile you as well, and those missiles hurt, so just bear that in mind as well. That was pretty solid round 4. Like, we used 2 chaff in the start, but then I don't think I used anything. Oh yeah, I used 1 more. So I'm down to 10. It's like no big deal. Round 5, obviously the hardest. This is where it gets interesting. You'll probably find me disabling on this duty, yeah. On this waypoint rather. In my opinion, round 5 waypoint 1 I think is just the hardest segment in the duty. It's a toss up between that and round 5 YT. The reason being is that you're fighting 5, then 6, then 7. You've always got at least 1 or 2 6. Like, it is hard. It's hard. I'm just waiting for things to recharge. I'm just going to shunt actually, just to be sure. That was unfortunate. See how I just fly straight into the pack and yet they don't touch me? Could be one of the best strategies for avoiding fire, just drive straight into chaff there. Right, 6 disabled. I've got a good amount of cap. Not ideal driving in a straight line, but it's fine. Only one more, I think. So that started out quite stressful, but actually was pretty good. I got some good shots on those 6. Didn't waste my cap. Like, it's very important to just chill out with your shots. Make sure they're accurate. Make sure they land. I was going to say something else, but it's just escaped me. Hopefully it'll come back to me. So that was unfortunate, I missed that shot there. I haven't disabled the 6 yet, so I feel under pressure to disable like anything at this point. It's just shunted there. Unfortunately, it's a really bad aim. Here we go. Alright, all the 6 disabled. It's nice. I'm going to take this opportunity to shunt. We've either got 1 or 2 left. 2. Okay, not bad. Did I use chaff there? Yeah, I used 1 chaff. Like, that's nice. That's good. I took a little bit more armor damage, but again, like, it's fine. You know, I had enough shield to I had enough cap to shunt, and then you know I had IFF ready if I felt like I couldn't handle things. So nice, that's that out of the way. Oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, like if you're doing this duty, you need your shield to be like within eye line of what you're doing. So I play on a 4K resolution, so on a big screen, I couldn't have I couldn't have this thing. I couldn't have that in the default position, which is right down at the bottom. I need it within my eye line. So like if you find yourself like whenever you need to check your shield, if you're like moving to another part of the screen, or like you can't check it like whilst flying, then like that's an issue, especially for high tier. Like you need to be aware of your shield at all times. So like either like I suggest moving it, or like get good at just having a quick glance with your eye. It's like I don't feel the need to chaff any of these. I probably could have chaffed that one. And that one. This might be where IFF actually. Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I probably got a little bit cocky there. I probably should have chaffed that second missile. But no big deal. Got a nice front plate, so how much have we got left? We've still got 2,000 of that left in armor, so that's fine. You kind of really want to keep your front armor slab though, especially for jousting high tier. Sorry, the YT. Like it's really important. So I just IFF there, just gonna chill, recharge my stuff. I think there's only like 2 or 3 fighters left. I'm just gonna go back in and finish them. So, bear in mind now, I don't have IFF for the next wave, so this is like you got to be mindful of this. Like, if you use IFF, that's a 5-minute cooldown. So you've got to be prepared for that. I mean, these guys aren't going to stay alive for 5 minutes, so there's no point. I may as well just kill them anyway. Like, even if I wanted to recharge IFF for the next round, I couldn't. For the next wave, rather. So I'm just going to have to play more cautious this next one. So that means I'm probably just going to disable everything. My chaffing is also going to be a little bit more heavier than usual. Behind is not a good start. Normally I wouldn't do this, but there's 2 in a row I can fire at, so take it. I've got 4, so there are 3 left. that was good. Well, last waypoint. Just delete some loot while we can. It's like, yeah, fire straight into them, as I said before. So I said before, like, on that very last YT, you get like a 1500 token bonus. So like, in terms of like, you know, where should I spend my chaff? Like, I'd much rather go chaff crazy on that final round because I can and because it's worth the most. So that's another way to view chaff. Like, why are you wasting chaff on like the first few rounds when you're only getting measly tokens from them? Chaff there because why not? I'm just going to disable this guy and then recharge. Right, last wave. I have got guys on me, but it's fine. I can chaff one of those missiles. Like, I'm quite relaxed right now. Like, this is a fairly easy round. I've got like 8 chaff remaining, I think. Maybe 7 now. So like, I'm fine. I could chaff that if I wanted to. Okay, right. Right, YT time. First I'm just gonna like delete some loot. For anyone wondering, I'm just like deleting the obvious crap stuff. I'm not checking stats, I'm like eyeballing like the stats I know, deleting the components I'm just not interested in. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Just gonna wait for my shield to recharge as well. A nice little trick as well, like I don't want to be facing this nebula. Okay, I did this in my last stream. Like I don't want to be facing this when the thing spawns in. So I'm actually just gonna like circle round. To something like here. Okay, so like it's a bit more clearer for me. And yeah, like let's do it. 7 chaff. Good luck to us.
Warning. Incoming hostiles.
Okay, right. So you can see there the importance of the front plate, right? So my front plate got obliterated. I got hit by the fighters as well, which actually doesn't typically happen. Um, that being said, my front plate survived. I IFF'd because standard practice, I guess. Now I'm doing two things. I'm staying close to the YT. If you go too far away, they typically just re-aggro you. So I'm staying close. I'm lining up my approach. I'm also just getting my shields ready. I'm just going to do every shot possible. I did actually get some really good hits in. Like I took down most of its shields, most of its armor. So like I am in a comfortable position. Like when I go back in, I should be able to get these guns. I'm going to go in now. Yeah, see how it just retargeted me. I'm actually just going to fly away now. So I left it a bit too long there. We still should be fine. This is why you need chaff, guys, for the very last one. Like, good shots there. I'm now going to disable these guys, like, there is no mess around. IFF's already gone. There you go. Right. Close one. But yeah, importance of the front plate. Like, there is another thing I could have done. And like, if you're worried about your front plate, like if you've got damage or like your armor's not that good, blah 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 blah, you can actually use another droid command called shield adjust, so you can actually just permanently shift your shield so it's not like equal front and back. You can put more weight on the front. So I have this handy, so I have a shield front moderate. I know that some people like actually just using the light version. Some people like shifting their shields, like adjusting it as and when. Like, typically I don't do it, but it's always something I'm mindful of, and I'm honestly like I am researching it a little bit more. I'm trying to look into whether or not I should start playing around with it. But like for emergencies, I have shield adjust moderate. So what that does is it makes it so that my front shield, instead of being like 4,000 front back, I now get 6,000 front, 2,000 back. So like in that situation when I was facing the last YT and and I knew my front plate was damaged, like that is one thing you can do. Like at the time, I didn't think it was that damaged enough to warrant adjusting my shield. Like maybe if I had the light adjust, then maybe I could have done that. But you know, a moderate, you know, still leaving yourself exposed to the back by, you know, with 2,000 shield is a big deal. Like because the YT can easily hit you from behind, so you have to be careful of that. But it's one thing you can do. But no, like really happy with how that went. Obviously we survived. It didn't quite go to plan. Like as soon as I went back in after the IFF, like the YT was already on aggro to me. So like I typically find that like if you leave it longer than 60 seconds for IFF, then they just come straight back after you again. So like always be careful of that. I did leave it a bit too long, and as a result, like when I went back in, I couldn't get my shots in to finish it off. I had to boost away and come back in again. So it just, you know, it helps that I have a good engine and a good booster that enables me to do that. But yeah, like thanks for watching. Like hope you found that useful. Um, like 1 hour 15 is like decent for a high tier. Like it's really good. If you get anywhere close to an hour or like under an hour, then you're absolutely sick. And like well done to you. I don't think I've ever gone under an hour, but I've probably come a little bit closer to this previously. But that being said, like this is really good. So yeah, happy with how that went. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like maybe I'll do another one of these midweek or so. Not too sure what my schedule's like, but yeah, thank you to Soli also for the guns. Made a nice change. And yeah, cool. I'm gonna end it there. So like, yeah, thanks for watching.